Joining you from South Florida. And for those of you who've joined us before on our other Zoom talks, most of our talks are very Mahjong rules, strategy oriented. We've done a co-Zoom with Alzheimer's to talk about brain health. We do a lot of virtual vintage where people invite us into their home and share the most beautiful sets that you wouldn't necessarily see. And today, when we read about Shawna speaking at a Mahjong event, we thought this would be a wonderful topic for our group. So Shawna Robins is a health and wellness coach, and she is the CEO. And I don't, if I say this wrong, is it Kaia?
Yep.
Okay, Kaia Health and Wellness. And in the notes on our YouTube, we are going to give a link to her book. She's a best-selling author, and she is going to explain to us how she became this career and what led her to it, and then just give us tips. And even if we take one or two of the tips from tonight's talk to integrate into our world, it is helpful for brain health. So without further ado, welcome, Shawna.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Shawna Robins. I'm located in Santa Barbara, California, and I see that there's someone in the chat that's from San Luis Obispo. So hello, almost neighbors. I am so pleased to be here and pleased to be talking to all of you about brain health. Do you want me just to jump into my presentation? Is that your plan?
Please.
Yeah, okay.
And then
so I'm going to screen share.
After Shawna's presentation, we also have Haley Register, who is from our local chapter of Alzheimer's, and she is going to share about the services that Alzheimer's Association provides. And we also have other people on who, if you want to raise your hand because you have something important to add, please do, or you could do a chat, and at the end we will have questions and answers. So sorry about interrupting, go right ahead.
No problem, please help yourself, interrupt all the time. Okay, I'm going to share my screen with all of you. And if you like she said, if you have any questions, you can either just raise your hand, or for some reason I don't see you because I'm, on my thing. Just at the end, we'll do a Q&A as well. So just hold on to your questions. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see the chat while I'm going through this. All right, so let me find a good spot for this. Here we are talking about brain health, and welcome all of you here. We're going to learn today together how to make a few small but powerful changes that will make a big impact on your brain at any age. So it doesn't really matter where you are on the spectrum of your age. Your brain is this amazing biocomputer that can be built and rebuilt. So don't feel like you have missed your chance at strengthening your brain. There's always another day. There's always another chance. So your job today is to pick 1 to 2 things that feel really doable and easy to you. So I'm going to throw a lot of information at you. If you have a pen and a piece of paper handy, that would be great. But as I go through, my top 6 tips on this, really just find those kind of low-hanging fruit items that that you can do, that you can make some easy changes to starting first thing tomorrow. So 1 to 2 of those. And so I'm curious from the group, let's see if I can see the chat here. What do you think are the most important factors in having a healthy brain? See if I can pull up the grid, or maybe Dara, maybe if you can see.
Michelle is sleep, and Zach said exercise your brain.
Yeah.
And are you talking about factors in
lifestyle?
Brain?
Lifestyle factors, important, what people think. So sleep, so exercising your brain.
So Maureen said sleep, nutrition, exercise, doing new things. Janelle Schatz said diet.
Yeah.
And Janelle is
learning new things.
Of fighting Alzheimer's disease.
Okay,
learning new things.
Learning new things. Yeah. All right, so basically I'm preaching to the choir here, because everything that you guys have mentioned is exactly what I am going to say, just in a little more detail. So I'm really glad that you guys are all super informed on this. You'd be surprised how many times I give this talk and people just look at me with a blank stare. They have never thought about what's good for their brains. So it's really nice to be.
Shawna, Liz Long just had a great one, socialization.
Yeah, fantastic. One of the things on my list. So it's really nice to be talking to people who are very well educated in this subject. So this won't come as new news to you, but hopefully it will be enough to sort of crystallize maybe a couple of tweaks or changes that you can make right now in your life. So As I said, today we're going to talk about my 6 ways to improve brain health. And those are sleep, diet, social connections, daily exercise, not necessarily brain exercise, but exercise for the whole body. And we'll talk about why that's important. Stress reduction and learning new things. So there you go. Here is me and my story. And unfortunately, it's a very personal story for me. My father was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at the age of 62. He was an executive. He was quite successful at running a mortgage banking company. And in building his company, he went many years with very little sleep. And when I say little sleep, I mean like 2 hours a night, tops, 2 to 3 hours on 3 hours on a good night. And he never exercised. He thought that exercising was something that you did to like look thin. He didn't think that exercise had any other value outside of any kind of vanity thing. So he was the guy that rode in the golf cart, right? He wouldn't even walk on the golf course when he would play. And, you know, he had a very high level of stress with his employees and his businesses and, you know, everything else. And so because of all of this, right, he had this diet where he craved carbs and sugar, right? Because you do that when you're exhausted, you just want to stay awake. So he went from eating, you know, bread and chips and crackers to eating cookies and, you know, any processed foods that he could get his hands on just to get his body a glucose hit. So when he was diagnosed at 62, we don't have any family history of Alzheimer's. So it was just really out of the blue. It was devastating for my mother and for all of us. And so that really motivated me to go back to nutrition school and learn about the ways that I could help him. And what I learned was by making these, you know, small but powerful lifestyle changes, it's called the butterfly effect, you could really make a huge difference in the longevity of your life. So yes, even though he was diagnosed with early onset and with mild cognitive impairment, he was able to live 11 full years with this diagnosis. And it wasn't until COVID really turned his world upside down that he took a downward spiral. I think that if COVID hadn't shut him in his house, there's a chance he could be with us today because he was swimming and he was walking and he was eating very well. And he was really able to hold on to living by himself for a very long time, which was really amazing. So he's really my inspiration. He's the reason I wrote my best-selling book called Powerful Sleep. I talk a lot about him in there and a lot of the things that I learned, not only in working with him for 11 years, but also being raised by him and then, you know, watching him through end of life. So I've written actually 2 books, but Powerful Sleep is the one that we're focusing on today. And I offer it for free on my website. And I will actually be putting up the free Audible version of it on my YouTube channel. It's coming up at the probably by the middle of November. And so I'm here today because this is what I do. I have a passion for helping people learn how to take better care of themselves. And because once you learn, it's not that hard, but you just need to learn the right little tips and strategies and things that you can do. And then of course you need to have accountability, which is why it's so great that you're in this group, because I really hope that, you know, all of you have built relationships with one another where you can check in on one another and hold each other accountable for things. So that's a really key part of what I teach and what I offer as a health and wellness coach. So the secret to better brain health at any age, like we said, is in your daily lifestyle choices. So it's the same with sleep, right? You're not going to sleep well at night if you don't make the right choices during the day. You're not going to have, you know, insulin that feeds your body in a healthy way if you're not taking care of yourself during the day. Everything is about your daytime choices. So I really want you to remember that. I also want you to remember that everyone here has the power to be healthy. It doesn't just belong to a certain amount of people because they have the right genetics, right? Genetics, as the saying goes, genetics simply loads the gun, but lifestyle pulls the trigger. So your lifestyle is way more powerful than your genetics. And science has shown us that through epigenetics, if any of you know about that, where you can actually change your DNA expression with your lifestyle choices. So I really want you to really take away how powerful it is for you to make good daytime choices. And like I said, even if you've made poor choices in the past, today is a new day. Tomorrow is a new day. Don't beat yourself up. Don't feel bad. Just move from a place where you can make success possible for yourself. All right, so let's talk about a healthier brain. My number one, of course, because I've written a book about sleep, is nighttime sleep, right? And when I say nighttime sleep, I'm talking 7 to 9 uninterrupted hours. That is what you need to get. And it's really, really hard to get those uninterrupted hours. Some people can get, 7 hours, but it's jumbled, right? You get up, you use the restroom, you check your phone, you wake up, you go back to sleep, your pet wakes you up, or, a kid or a partner is snoring or whatever you have. So it's that uninterrupted hours. And the reason why is because your brain needs this time to regenerate and restore and clean itself. So I liken the brain during sleep, a 7-hour window of sleep, as like a self-cleaning oven. Those old time I don't have it anymore. Maybe some of you do, but like those ovens that had that self-cleaning oven switch, you just click it on, you press it, and you walk away for 3 hours and you come back and your oven's clean. That's what your brain does when you go to sleep. So when you hit your first REM cycle, it's your brain starts to flush itself and clean itself, and all these sticky plaques and tangles come in, and they're looking for foreign invaders, right, that come into the brain during the day through your eyes and your nose and your mouth. Viruses, bacteria, particles that come in. The brain expects this, right? We're hardwired, we're biologically wired for this. So if the brain is interrupted in the cleaning cycle, you're left with all these sticky plaques and tangles that are in the brain. And in the morning, you wake up and you have brain fog and you're confused and you're tired and you're slow. And part of that is because this cycle was interrupted. So it's really important that you let the brain clean itself for 7 to 9 uninterrupted hours. Like I said, it regenerates with new neurons. And it stores memories. Really important that your brain is storing memories at night while you sleep. And of course, sleep is just such a natural time for your blood pressure to drop, for your inflammation levels to lower. I mean, it's just this amazing gift for your health. So if you don't take anything away from this call, please take this one thing away, that sleep is one of the most important gifts that you can give yourself for your brain, for your health, and for your longevity. All right, so number 2, we're going to talk about brain foods. So somebody mentioned, eating for your brain is really important. So I'm really glad that you recognize that. So the external layer of your neurons all come from the fat that we eat. So fat is very important, and there are different types of fat, right? Fat has been vilified in the American culture since the 1980s. And I have many women that I coach with that tell me they can't eat an avocado because it has too many calories. To which I tell them that you have to eat avocado because it's one of the healthy fats. And it's also chock full of fiber. So, and it's one of my favorite foods. I couldn't live without them. But, and cholesterol is another thing, right? Cholesterol and egg yolks and, different types of meat. It's also been vilified. And cholesterol is not an issue. In fact, the brain needs cholesterol for the neurons to be able to pass thoughts between each other. The tips of the neurons are covered with these sheaths that are made up of fat and cholesterol. So I really want to get you out of the mindset that all fat is bad and into the mindset that there's healthy fats and unhealthy fats. And so what are the healthy fats? The healthy fats are the omega-3s, the 9s, and the 12s. And what do those look like? And you notice I leave the omega-6s out. Those are all the vegetable oils, your canola, your seed oils, your sunflower oils, anything that, has been processed from a seed or a type of vegetable. You need to take those and throw them out of your kitchen and really focus on these omega-3, 9s, and 12s. So those are going to look like your smash fishes. I always say smash is such an easy acronym to remember. Like if you're at the grocery store, like what kind of fish do I need to buy? What did she say? Yeah, smash fish. Sardines, mackerels, anchovies, salmon, and herring. Now, in America, these aren't typically fish that we eat, right? In other countries, these are very, very common fish. But we've really gotten away from eating this, and it's been just a shame for our brains because our brains really need to have these types of cold water fish. So you can take a supplement, which is mostly going to be krill oil, which is fine. I don't have a problem with taking any omega-3 supplements. I do it myself. But just make sure you're getting it if you're not eating the smash fish. Make sure you're getting a supplement in your omega-3s. Like I touched on, avocado, one of my all-time favorite foods. I have a half to a whole every single day. And that was one of the changes that I put my dad on. He was a big believer in low fat things. Nothing in the house had fat, non-fat milk and non-fat yogurt. And, everything was all non-fat, which is code for sugar, right? Because when you take the fat out of the processed food, they're going to put sugar in it for taste and flavor. So he had a diet very high in sugar, and which was one of his problems. Macadamia nuts are a source of omega-12s. I love macadamia nuts. Just a handful every single day. They're amazing for your brain if you can find them. I've been finding them at Costco. They have them there, and they are a bit expensive. So certainly if that's outside of the budget, walnuts are another great option. Again, a handful of walnuts a day, I swear, keeps the doctor away, especially when it comes to brain health. Chia seeds are another one of my favorite. They are chock full of omegas, as are edamame, which are soybeans in their original form. They come right out of the pea pod, and you can pop them in salads. You can have them as a snack, especially for women if you're postmenopausal. Edamame is a great food for you. It's a great form of natural soy, and it's chock full of omegas and fiber, which all women need to have, certainly women who are postmenopausal. And while I touch on that point, I also want to mention that a lot of people don't realize the new statistic, or maybe you do, and certainly the follow-up speaker from the Alzheimer's Association can talk about this, but currently right now there's about 6 million Americans that have been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and 2/3 of these are women. So women, this is a woman's disease. This is really, really important that women recognize that they are at risk for Alzheimer's. And in fact, on alzheimers.org, it says that more women, by 2025, more women will die from Alzheimer's than from breast cancer. So it's really, really an important conversation to have. And if you're postmenopausal, I really want you to pay extra attention to this presentation, because I am really talking to you on things that you can do. Edamame is one of those things, right? Easy add, easy thing. And it makes a big difference, not only in your body, but in your brain. Of course, extra virgin olive oil, that's the baby, right? Everybody loves that when it comes to omega-3s and 9s. I love it too. And avocado oil, that's been a new add in the last year into my pantry. And now I come to cook almost everything in avocado oil. So if you haven't tried it yet, definitely give it a try. I'm not one to vilify egg yolks and eggs. I love them. I think that there's nothing wrong with eating eggs. This whole, high cholesterol thing makes me nuts personally as a functional nutritionist, because it's really the carbs and the added sugar that affect your heart more than the eggs and the egg yolks. Actually, your brain really needs, like I said, that level of cholesterol. And then of course, beef and chicken liver, again, we don't eat like this anymore. I mean, this was something my grandmother would always make, right? And so there's something I think now about sort of getting back to your roots and not just rushing around and eating on the go and eating fast food or eating something prepared from Trader Joe's or whatever, really making your food and really being mindful of kind of the recipes from prior generations, because there's a lot of wisdom in that way of eating, especially for the brain. All right, so some more of my favorite brain foods.
Before you go to the next slide, we have some questions. So Zach was saying avocado oil from Costco is affordable in bulk.
The chosen life.
How many eggs per week are acceptable?
I think it really depends on, is that, are you a man, are you a woman? How big are you? What's your age? I advise the women that I work with are typically over 50. And, I tell them that they can eat anywhere from, 2 to 4 eggs a week. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Salmon is,
I'm sorry?
When it comes to salmon, is farm raised a no-no?
No. I know that the wild caught is way more expensive. So what I typically do is just when salmon is in season, when it's running in July and August, I will just buy it in bulk, wild caught salmon, and just throw it in my freezer. And I will have it during the year.
So what is just the farmed just doesn't have the same fats, the same healthy fat?
It's not only does it not have the same healthy fat, but it has tons of toxic chemicals in it, because what they're feeding the salmon is not natural. They're even feeding it other salmon. Like they're feeding it grains. They're feeding it things that salmon don't eat, and also the environment that the salmon's in. They're also having to put antibiotics and things in the area to keep it clean, because they keep them in such tight areas. It's not healthy for the ocean. It's not healthy for the salmon. So even sometimes in the wintertime, if I don't want to, take the salmon out and defrost it, I'll just buy some smoked wild caught salmon. That tends to be fairly easy. And then that will go on top of my eggs or in my salad or as a snack or with my avocado. It's delicious. So just see whatever you can do. I know it's hard. You can't always be perfect with this, but if you can, lean more towards wild caught fish, you're going to be healthier and the fish is going to be healthier.
And then with avocado oil, is that just a taste substitute for, because I have it, but if something calls for olive oil, can you use avocado oil?
You can. It's got a much higher smoking point than olive oil. So I use it when I'm sauteing or baking. And so I use olive oil as a finishing oil, like in a salad dressing or in a marinade. But if I'm just going to be cooking something at a higher heat, avocado oil is going to be my go-to. And it's got less of a flavor than olive oil. So you're not going to notice it in the dish at all.
And then Donna, do you want to unmute or do you want me to say your question?
Yeah, no, I was just saying I'm too much information, but postmenopausal, I try to avoid soy products. So is edamame acceptable? I don't know. Is it okay to eat?
Do you have a history of breast cancer or
No,
uterine cancer?
not at all. No.
Yeah, no, it's actually the opposite. So the studies have shown that women who actually consume soy post-menopause actually have higher bone density. They have a healthier heart. They have healthier brains. We have in every cell in our body, we have receptors for estrogen. We are built for estrogen. And so unless you've had some sort of estrogenic cancer, I think that soy is highly, what's the word I'm looking for? Incredibly important for postmenopausal women to have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I just asked Maureen, did you have a quick question?
Yes, I do. I have had breast cancer and it's fueled by estrogen and progesterone. So I try to avoid soy and just wondered what your opinion was on that.
I would recommend that you talk to your doctor about it and see if eating a whole food based soy would be something that they would, be okay with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so on to more brain food. Animal protein has creatine in it, and it has, amazing amino acids. If you eat animal protein, fantastic. I think it's really a great source for your brain. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. But certainly, if you do, you can help your brain that way. Red potatoes are one of my favorites because the skins in the red potatoes are excellent for brain health. So if you're going to eat any kind of potatoes, eat the red ones. That's what I always say. Same with sweet potatoes, and make sure you always eat the skin. It's full of fiber and lots of nutrients. Full fat cottage cheese is a big go-to of mine. It has choline in it, and choline is incredibly helpful for the brain to keep the brain really young and fresh and healthy and strong. And so if you can handle dairy, I recommend full fat cottage cheese. And cabbage. Not a lot of people realize that cabbage is such a great brain food. But again, this kind of goes back to the fact that this is how we used to eat, right? We used to eat a lot of cabbage. And generations ago, cabbage was something that was in a lot of different recipes. And I think as Americans, we've kind of gotten away from it. But there's a lot of amazing nutrients that cabbage for your brain. And then that brings us, of course, to fermented foods, right? Because most people think of cabbage and, they think of sauerkraut, which is a great way to eat cabbage. There's a big connection between the gut and the brain health. And that's because the vagus nerve connects the gut and the brain. And so all of your neurotransmitters, your serotonin, your dopamine, that's all made in your gut, and it travels up the vagus nerve to the brain. So the healthier your gut is, the healthier your brain is going to be. And now there's so much being done now with studying of different strains of probiotics. I know even in Alzheimer's research, there's a lot of information on this. And so I think in the next, 3 to 5 years, that's going to be just a huge, impactful part of Alzheimer's research, is going to be really learning about ways that we can fortify our gut and make our gut healthier to help make the brain healthier. And right now, what we have is information on fermented foods and the different bacteria in fermented foods that help make you healthier. Also helps your immune system. It helps, make hormones. It does all sorts of, it helps your metabolism, does everything else. But for brain health, fermented food is a great thing. And berries are my favorite go-to for fruit. Wild blueberries are one of the best that you can have. And they come in season in, the summer. They're mostly from Maine and different in Vermont. And so for me in California, I have to buy them frozen because I can't get them here. but I always have organic wild berries in my fridge or in my freezer. And that's just a big go-to for me. And like I said, you know, organic if possible, if you can do it. And the green veggies, mostly for the gut health, but also just to level out the insulin. And we'll talk about that next. And so your green veggies are going to look like your Brussels sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, parsley, and spinach. So those are my favorite go-tos for green vegetables for brain health. So let's talk about type 3 diabetes. When my father passed, my mother got his death certificate, and listed on his death certificate was that he died of type 3 diabetes. So that is now what Alzheimer's is being called. Type 3 diabetes is insulin resistance in the brain. So too much sugar creates too much insulin that's being released. The body doesn't have any place to put it, so it gets stored up in the brain. And it's really, really important that you take a look at your daily sugar amounts. And I'm not talking about sugar in fruits and vegetables and sweet potatoes and, you know, that kind of natural forms of sugar. I'm talking about the 17 teaspoons of sugar that Americans consume every single day. I mean, we are huge sugar junkies in this country. We have a massive sugar addiction, and I think it's because we are completely exhausted. We actually have a sleep issue. And that's what fuels the fact that we constantly have this need for sugar. And also the fact that we live on this low fat, we were told heart healthy diet, which means that everything has just been loaded with sugar, from our milk to our yogurt, to our ice cream, to our bread, everything has been loaded with sugar. So these are the sugars you want to make sure you stay away from. You want to stay away from cane sugars and all the artificial sugars as well. Those have all been tested and shown to cause cancer. And you want, my two favorite sugars to use are monk fruit sweetener. That's actually what I used with my dad because he was a total sugar junkie, like I said. Monk fruit sweetener actually will not raise your insulin levels, and it works great. I bake with it, I cook with it, I make pies at Thanksgiving with it, I make hot cocoa for my daughter with it. It's really incredible stuff. So if you haven't tried it, check it out. Or raw unfiltered honey is really amazing for you, especially if you can get it local from your area and where you are. I'm a big fan of raw honey. So I tell my clients to aim for 20 grams of sugar or less per day. And you'd be surprised once you start reading labels how hard that is, because most things are given on the labels in serving size. So it'll say like 7 grams of sugar. Yeah, but a serving size is like this much, right? It's like 2 bites. And so, and then you look and go, oh my God, I ate that whole bag. Wait, how much sugar was that? Right. So you really have to be mindful of serving size and the labels, and make sure you read them to keep the amount of sugar that you consume on the lower side. So none of us want to get type 3 diabetes. None of us want to have Alzheimer's or dementia. And so lowering your daily sugar intake is going to be a huge part of that equation. All right, so number 3, like someone mentioned as well.
I just Googled it. Are there 4 grams of sugar in a teaspoon?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Linda was asking, what do you think of stevia for a replacement for sugar?
You know, I don't mind it. If it works for you. For me, it upsets my stomach, so it doesn't work for me. But you know, if I had to put it in a list of order, I would probably put stevia as number 3. So monk fruit, and then raw unfiltered honey, and then and stevia. Yeah. Anything else?
Nope, we're good.
Okay, good. All right, so let's talk about making social connections. Obviously, you guys are all here and you guys know how important this is. So maybe you've already heard the statistic that loneliness and social isolation is worse for your health than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. So this is a big deal, right? And not only for your own health, but the health of those around you. Maybe it's a neighbor, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a sibling or a parent, you know, really making sure that you reach out. Because everybody needs somebody. You know, we're biologically hardwired with oxytocin, and oxytocin is that love hormone. And it helps you to bond to your baby. It helps you to bond to others, especially women have more oxytocin than men, but men still have it. And so you really want to connect every single day with people if you can. So, you know, again, here are the statistics from the CDC. Not only the smoking 15 cigarettes a day, but also the 50% increase in dementia if you are isolated and alone, the 29% increase in heart disease, and 32% increase in strokes. So it's kind of across your health, right? Of making sure that you're connected with others. So just make it a priority, reach out. I work with women who are solo women travelers in a group called Journey Woman. And I coach women from all over the world, and some of them are nomadic travelers, and they're living in foreign countries and they're living abroad, and it can be kind of isolating when you're on your own and when you're traveling. And so not only do they use me and my group as a way to touch base, but I'm always encouraging them, to make sure that they reach out and meet others in the little towns that they go through, because it's really, really important that you connect. So some things obviously that you can do besides playing Mahjong, which is amazing, and congratulations to all of you for doing that, because it's a really big way to prioritize your health and wellness. But group sports are a really important thing. Women who play tennis or golf tend to be much healthier, and it's not really because of the sport. I mean, that's part of it, but a lot of it is from the connections that are really helpful. Meet others for lunch or coffee, take a walk, a weekly book club, and even a church or prayer group can be incredibly impactful to connect that way. If you can't leave your house, or if you're a little more housebound than you'd like to be, meeting with a prayer group or doing something like that online is really, really important. So don't think that you're not helping your health by doing that.
So Shawna, we had a question from Linda, and she was saying, can it be via technology if she cannot get out and about? Is that still satisfy the connection in this?
Totally. Obviously, it's great to be able to see people and hug them and spend one-on-one time with them. But if you can connect online, I think that is absolutely wonderful too. And
well,
just
it was amazing. When we first started our Zoom talks, Donna and I were so thrilled because 24 people came, and we were like, wow, we had people, and just seeing everybody say hello and the little Brady Bunch screen and just connecting, and I haven't, even though it's not 3D, but seeing a face behind the voice that you played with online, it was just very rewarding, and that's why we continue doing these.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think it's just wonderful. It's wonderful for your health, incredible for your brain. And it just brings more joy and happiness into your life and to other people's lives. So I'm really glad to hear that you were doing that. I'm sure it was a lifeline for a lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah, we were just at a Mahjong convention, and people came up to us and said, we just want to tell you how you saved us, from loneliness and that. Yeah. So that was really special.
And it helps with self-care too. Because when you're stuck at home, I mean, do you really care to blow your hair and put on, get dressed and whatever?
Right.
So knowing you were on the Zoom, I mean, I'm not saying anybody was dressed nicely from the waist down, but at least sweatshirt up. I mean, everybody was, there to see each other and connect. So that was really nice.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And I think that's so great you guys provided that. It's wonderful. All right, so Mahjong cognitive decline. I'm sure you guys all know about these studies, but in 2020, there was a big study in China studying women mostly, but men as well, that played Mahjong 3 times a week for 12 weeks. And they improved across the board on all of their executive functioning, especially those that were already showing signs of mild cognitive impairment, which is sort of the pre-Alzheimer's stage. It's as you know, it's a low cost way for people to get together. And it's a real gift. And I'm really glad that it's here in the United States. And I'm really glad that it's taking off. And so I found this study to be really, really impactful when I was reading about it. So some other benefits of Mahjong, I'm sure you all know this too, improves memory. You're able to make faster decisions and make better observations. You have to read people's body language, which is great. Those are all those subtle signs that are all used in the frontal lobe of your brain. Very important. Teaches patience. Even more of a reason why I should play this game, because that's something that I need to learn. Teaching patience is, it is a virtue for a reason. Forces players to think differently along different spectrums. You have to see things from different points of view, which is really great. And you have to utilize emotional control when you play Mahjong, which I think is very interesting. Using your emotional intelligence while you're playing the game to be able to hide your emotions until it's an appropriate time to share them with any kind of poker face, depending on what you pulled, is really, really important for your health and wellness. Having that non-emotional reactivity is just going to increase your health, your wellness, and your happiness and your joy in other areas of your life. So it's just a great thing to be practicing on a daily basis. And of course, strengthening the attention span is really important. especially as you age, you really have to keep that attention span built. And there's a lot of great brain games online, but I love the fact that Mahjong really helps to naturally strengthen this attention span level. All right, so number 4, this is one of my favorite things for brain health, and this is daily exercise. And it's, you know, not so much exercise in the brain as it is the body. And the reason why is because when you move your body and you move your blood, you start to breathe harder. And when you breathe harder, you start to oxygenate yourself. And that oxygen is running from your toes all the way up to your brain. And so that is such an important thing to do for your brain to keep it healthy and young. So the recommendation is 150 hours of cardiovascular exercise per week. So when I say cardiovascular, that means that's a spectrum of cardiovascular, right? Not everybody can get on the elliptical or the Peloton machine and just go hardcore. For some people, it's simply just walking around their house or walking around their block, or maybe just walking up like a little knoll that's right next to your house, or even taking a few stairs, right? Even that can give you a little bit of cardio exercise. But just keep in mind how every time you're exercising your heart and getting your heart to pump a little bit more, you're exercising and caring for your brain, because those two things are connected. So obviously it's a goal to get your heart pumping and sweaty 5 days a week. But like I said, it's not always realistic, and that's okay.
And
I have something
just to interrupt, it's 150 minutes a week, because I think 150 hours would be a whole week.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Thank you for catching that. You're right. It's 150 minutes a week.
I'll be sitting and watching and running while
you're supposed to exercise while you're sleeping, right? You didn't know you're supposed to be on the Peloton at 2 a.m. No, thank you for catching that. I appreciate it. It's 30 minutes 5 times a week. So that is the goal that we're looking at. And, you know, something that I really like, if you're already, you know, great at exercising and you already get this done, I would recommend that you try to level it up a little bit by trying to learn something new while you exercise. So that could be listening to a podcast. If you exercise in your house, that could be maybe watching a documentary while you're on the bike or while you're exercising, doing whatever you do. But using your brain to actually take in new information and building new neural pathways while you're exercising the body is like a 1-2 punch of goodness. So take that with you if you can, if that's something that might inspire you. And then, of course, next step above that would be to try a new type of exercise you've never tried before. That's really amazing for your brain. And can anybody guess what the #1 form of exercise is for the brain? Do we have any guesses?
Walking?
Mm-mm. Ballroom dancing.
Wow.
Ballroom dancing is the #1 best exercise for a healthy brain. So even if you don't ballroom dance, if you dance at all, even if it's in your living room or in your bedroom, it's really, really great for your brain. So just sort of keep that in mind.
I thought you were going to say pickleball, since that's
no, that's all the rage, right? But and again, a lot of great things about pickleball. But when it comes to brain health, ballroom dancing is the #1 best exercise that you can do. Yeah. Okay, so stress reduction. So we have to talk about this, right? Because a lot of times the reason why maybe we don't eat so great, or we don't sleep so well, or we don't have time to exercise is because our stress level is too high, and that's going to negatively impact our brain health. So what I offer here are a few tips. Obviously, there's lots of other ones when it comes to stress reduction. But one of my favorites and what I teach to my clients is so simple. It's simply just a breathing exercise called box breathing. And you can look it up on YouTube if you want, or I can teach you here if you want, but it's used by Navy SEALs before they go into battle. And you simply just breathe a box. So that means you're going to inhale the same amount that you hold, that you exhale, that you hold. And so do you want to do this now? Should we do this together? Okay, good. So this number is going to be different per everybody. Some people can only do it in 3. Some people can do it in 7. Okay, but I'm just going to pick 4 just so that that's an average number, but you have to find the number that works for you. Okay, so everybody put your feet on the floor, kind of relax yourself, and I'm going to count. So I want you to inhale 1, 2, 3, 4. Now hold 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hold 1, 2, 3, 4. And if you can do this anywhere from 5 to 10 times a day, you can do this sitting in your car, you can do this at the grocery store, you can do this in the middle of the night when you wake up and your head is spinning about things that you're worried about, or your to-do list, or whatever you have going on in your life. What box breathing does is it just takes your nervous system and it just brings it down a notch. And it allows your brain to think very clearly, and it allows your body to feel safe. So, we obviously are all biologically driven and wired for survival. And we carry a level of anxiety and awareness in us because we needed to know if we were walking in the forest and there was a twig that snapped, is that, a bear that's going to come after us? And do we need to fight or flight or freeze? And so this is hardwired into us. But now we don't, most of us don't walk in forests and have bears behind us. So now the stress is still there, though. Your body is still reading the stress. It could be, an email. It could be something that goes on with your neighbor. It could be, somebody who cuts you off in traffic. Whatever it is, your body reads this as a threat. And then your cortisol levels go through the roof and you're ready to fight, flight, or freeze. And so what box breathing does is it tells your body that it's completely safe and your cortisol levels can come down. And that is very helpful for your brain because it helps these other aspects of your life. Like I said, it helps your sleep, it helps your gut, it helps your diet, and it helps your muscles. All right, so that's my thing about box breathing. It's free, it's available to everybody. And even if you don't like box breathing, there's plenty of other breathing exercises that you can find online. Just find one that you really like. Some people count, some people listen to music. Doesn't matter to me. Just find it and use it as much as you can every single day. All right, so yoga is the big thing here when it comes to stress reduction as well, because you get to not only deep breathe, but you get to stretch. So that's a win-win, right? And that's super helpful for your brain. And then the studies on meditation always just blow me away. I didn't really start meditating until I was in my late 40s when I had 2 books and 2 book deadlines and 3 children. And then COVID, and I was going to lose my mind. And I thought, okay, I don't know what to do with my stress level. Nothing turns it off. And I found meditation, and now it's become a daily practice for me. So Harvard did a study on meditators and actually looked at their brain mass and their gray matter, and found that people who had been meditating 20 minutes a day for over a year have the same gray matter in their 50s. Well, 50-year-olds have the same gray matter as a 20-year-old. So it's actually a way to really rejuvenate your brain. So meditation, don't feel like meditation is something you have to do perfectly or that you can't do or you don't have time to do. Even if you start doing 5 minutes a day meditation, I really hope that you consider it because it has really lasting, wonderful impacts on your brain health.
Do you have any good references for how to start meditation? Is it like a podcast or a link or?
I just downloaded an app. There's 2 great apps. There's Headspace and there's Calm. I use Calm. A lot of my clients use Headspace. They have everything from breathing meditations on there to like 10-minute guided meditations to just nature sounds.
On Amazon Music, if you have Amazon Music, they have a lot, but you have to just search for guided meditation.
Even YouTube, you can search for them on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
I think that's it. I think it's just being open-minded to trying something new, and we'll talk about that at the end about how important that is. That you just try and see if you can find one that you like. And nobody is judging you. There's no perfect way to meditate. What matters is just that you do it and that you get the health benefits from it. And that big health benefit is going to be stress reduction. All right, so here we are again, talking about learning new things. So whether it's meditating or trying yoga or learning ballroom dancing, right? It's all about learning new things. And that's from this idea of neuroplasticity. The brain is always able to learn new things up until the day that you die. From the day you're born until the day you die, your brain is hardwired to learn new things. It is never, ever too late. And so, pick something that appeals to you, pick something that makes your heart sing, whether it's cooking or learning something on a podcast or playing brain games or, learning a new language, whatever it is that you've always had an interest in, follow that, because that is going to just help your brain stay young and fit and help your body feel good. And it might even bring a whole new connection, a whole new social connection of people into your life that help your life become so enriched on so many different levels.
Well, when you were talking about stress,
Yes.
one thing about stress is when people play Mahjong, one of the things is you really can't focus. You can't pat your head and tap your belly at the same time. It's really like you have to focus. So a lot of people do say that Mahjong is a very helpful stress reliever.
That's true. I can see that.
Yeah, and then with learning something new every year, if you play National Mahjong League style, every year in March and the end of March, April, they give a new card. So every year we're forced to learn a whole new set of hands. So that's something that I think is just built into the game.
Well, again, more reasons to play Mahjong, right? And as you can see, as I'm somehow trying to find my way through my slides, apparently, playing Mahjong is something that I should be doing more often.
Yep.
All right. So let's talk about what damages your brain. So like I said, having this fixed mindset, there's a big difference between a fixed mindset.
Share stopped though.
Oh, it did?
I think so. Just now, just when you clicked over.
All right. Well, hold on a second here. Let me exit.
While you're looking, so Zach said search guided meditation on YouTube. Maureen loves the calm sleep stories to fall asleep. And she also knits for mindfulness and finds it very helpful to reduce stress. In a world full of chaos, you create order with yarn. Hey, that's what your Robert says about Mahjong. So
I love that. I love that. All right. Well, I am going to have to pull my slides back up because they have turned off. So you can keep going through those. Give me just a second and get back to the slide where I was.
Linda Long doesn't do box breathing, but she does Dr. Andrew Weil's 4-7-8 breathing technique. And then Donna, do you want to share your great tip about crumble cookies, Donna?
Oh, I just put it out there. A cardiologist had so my son just started college, and in all college towns, they're opening crumble cookies. Well, one cookie is 4 servings. How many of us have had the entire cookie ourselves, but it's 52 grams of sugar in one cookie.
Wow.
Yeah, that's, and they want us to have how many grams of sugar per day? I mean, that's over
120.
Right. Yeah. So that's half your sugar just in one cookie.
One cookie, yeah. And if you look at a can of soda, you'll see too that some of them have up to 60 grams of sugar just in one can.
Have you heard of hint water yet?
I have.
Is there anything that I'm missing? It seems too good to be true.
Well, all those waters, whether it's Hint or LaCroix or Spindrift, like they all have artificial flavors and natural flavors, which we really don't know what natural flavors are. And they're in everything. And the FDA hasn't approved them. And so I'm curious to see what the blowback is going to be on all these processed.
Usually when they're flavored like that, they have an artificial sweetener, and there's no artificial sweetener in them.
Right, because they have natural flavors. But so that used to mean MSG. MSG used to be the main natural flavoring that was in there so that things were more artificially salted, so you would crave them. So that's the thing about these food manufacturers, right? They create these flavor bursts. So they know which opiate receptors to hit in our brain because they've studied the human brain and, and they've been able to figure out how they can get us to have uncontrollable cravings for products. So not only will we eat the whole thing, but we'll also want to buy 3 more. So there's this constant manipulation of your brain with food items, especially processed food items. So it's pretty shocking once you kind of dive deep into the ways that we've been lied to, not only from the food pyramid and the low fat diets, but now to all of these things that are not artificially flavored, but yet there's still some sort of, chemically made something in our food that is messing with our brains. So yeah, I mean, the more you can eat whole real foods, the better off your brain is going to be. Yeah. And I'm really glad you brought that up because, you know, that's obviously something that I deal with a lot of people who are food addicts or are, you know, compulsively eating different kinds of packaged food and not understanding what's wrong with them. What's wrong with me? Why do I have to eat a whole bag of chips? I'm like, it's not your fault. It's literally not your fault. You are hardwired to eat these chips and they are manipulating you to eat the whole bag. So yeah, don't feel bad. But just don't eat the chips. Don't even open the bag and then you don't have to worry about it, right? All right, so let's talk about having a fixed mindset versus a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is the ability to look at your progress over perfection. It's ability to be new at something, try something new, give a new idea a try, and not be an expert all the time at everything and not be perfect about everything. Having a fixed mindset is the opposite of that, right? You're very inflexible. You're not open to change or open to learning new things. And so science has actually showed us that having a fixed mindset is really harmful to the brain. The brain has a certain number of neural pathways, and if you just keep those neural pathways like they are, the brain mass actually shrinks smaller and smaller and smaller. And you see that with people who are aging or people who are trapped in their homes. If they no longer drive, they don't go to the grocery store, they don't interact with people, you know, the neuroplasticity of the brain really starts to shrink. So the more open-minded you are and the more you can try new things and learn new things, the bigger and healthier your brain is going to be. Anxiety and fear are two things that can actually damage the brain. So if you have excessive worries or fear, and you have no stress relief with that, or your stress relief is to, you know, drink a bottle of wine or to, you know, binge shop or watch Netflix all night and not sleep, you know, those things are going to be really hurting your body and hurting your brain. So I would say if this is something that resonates with you, you definitely want to see if you can get some help for your anxiety and your fear level, whether that is seeking somebody who specializes in mental health, or, you know, joining a community of people who can support you, or even, you know, looking at different types of, you know, 12-step programs or whatever you need. It's really, really important that you do that for your brain health. Another one, and if there's any doctors in this group, they'll probably lynch me for this, but I'll say it, statin use is something that can really damage the brain. And statins like Lipitor and Crestor are, their job is to pull cholesterol out of your body. But the thing is, it doesn't differentiate between good fats and bad fats, right? Just all fats, everything gets sucked out. And that was one of the factors, you know, with my dad's Alzheimer's, not only were his lifestyle choices, but the fact that he was on statins for 18 years. So he started statins in his mid 40s and then, you know, by 62 had Alzheimer's. So I'm not saying that's the only reason why he had Alzheimer's, but it's definitely a factor. And using statins. So a lot of women that I coach with, their doctors will just throw them on statins as preventative, right? Because more, you know, heart disease is the #1 killer of women. But I would definitely push back against that. I would definitely do your research. I would definitely ask questions, and I would definitely advocate for yourself before you just automatically take a prescription of statins. And the same thing goes for prescription sleep aids. Right? So women that I work with, they go to their doctors and they say, I can't sleep and I have anxiety and I have worries. And they say, oh, hey, it's fine here. Have an Ambien or have a benzo. Take Valium, take Xanax. And, you know, that will take the edge off, but it's not actually going to fix the problem. And the problem is that you can't sleep because your stress levels are too high. So what you need to be focusing on is that other slide of meditation and yoga and deep breathing and social connection and exercise and eating better. What you don't need to be doing is, you know, taking a Xanax so that you can sleep, because you actually don't get any REM cycles when you take a Valium or a Xanax. And the REM cycles are what you need to clean your brain. Like I said, with that self-cleaning oven switch, you really need those REM cycles, and you need 3 to 4, sometimes even 5 REM cycles a night to be able to have the brain work properly and work correctly. And so any kind of prescription sleep aid is just going to get in the way of that. And they're highly addictive. So they're very hard to get off of. So once you get on them, you know, it's a lifetime. Unfortunately, my father-in-law now is 82, and he was given Klonopin in his 60s before he retired from work, and he's still on it because he can't microdose off of it, because the amount of grand mal seizures that people can have when they just come right off these drugs. I mean, it's very challenging to get off of. So just, you know, really think it through, really ask all the right questions, really do your research and advocate for yourself again, before you just, you know, take an Ambien. Sugar, like we talked about, sugar is just terrible for your brain. It's very damaging for your brain. So do what you can to eliminate any kind of artificial sweeteners or cane sugars or high fructose corn syrup out of your diet. And of course, the elephant in the living room is always alcohol, right? Women especially use alcohol to take an edge off at the end of the day. And, I don't have an issue with one glass during dinner, but past that, it's really going to interrupt your sleep, and it's going to interrupt your REM cycles, and you're going to get a sugar spike from it, which is going to drop at about 2-3 in the morning. It's going to wake you up, and it's also a diuretic, and it's going to make you use the bathroom in the middle of the night. So I highly, highly, highly recommend that you think twice before you have a second glass. You prioritize your sleep first, and you prioritize the wellness for your brain first before, having another glass of wine or another drink. Do we have any questions? We always have questions on that one. Anyone? Oh, I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Sorry. Perfect timing. Sorry. Daisy. The question was, are there dangers of plastic in food?
Yeah, I hate plastic in food, mostly because they're endocrine disruptors. So you have, whatever you can do to not use BPA products. Don't put saran wrap in the microwave. That's a pet peeve of mine. I hate that. You just want to keep plastics out of any kind of heated food. So you're not going to want to put your Tupperware in the oven or in the microwave, right? To heat it up, you're going to put it in a bowl, and that's the thing about processed foods, right? Because the food comes and it's prepared in a piece of plastic, and they say, oh, take the whole thing and put it in the oven. And it's like, what? Why? All that plastic is just going to melt into my food. So, just make smart choices, right? Throw it in a bowl or throw it in a glass container and heat it up. And toss the plastic that it was stored in if possible. And, I hate using single-use plastics in general. They're one of the worst things for our planet that we have. So whatever you can do to get away from even using plastics, like all of my Tupperware now is all glass. I don't use anything that's plastic. So, and all my water bottles are reusable. And, plastic is pretty evil.
Yeah, my mother used to carry a water bottle. She had Sjogren's disease, so very dry. So she would take water bottle and keep it in her hot car. Oh. And it's like, Mom, that is the worst thing you can do. Because
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Because the plastic will just leach right in.
Yeah. So cannot do that.
No.
And Janelle, on that note, Janelle just asked, how important is hydration for brain health?
I actually had a slide on that and I took it out. So I'm really glad that she asked that, because I didn't want to overwhelm everybody with everything, but hydration is huge, right? Your brain's like 80% water. So if you're dehydrated, your brain is not going to be able to think straight. And we have this joke amongst health coaches that the client has a headache, and so they take an Advil and they feel better. Well, it wasn't the Advil that made them feel better. It was the water that they drank the Advil with. So women especially are chronically dehydrated. I can't tell you how many women I work with that say that they drink coffee and wine and nothing else. And then they get so thirsty before they go to bed, they drink a whole 32-ounce water bottle, and then they don't know why they have to get up and pee 3 times a night, and they can't sleep well. So if that's you, and I'm talking to you, drink your water earlier in the day, between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And make sure that you're drinking half your body weight in ounces, which seems like a lot at first, and it will on your bladder, but your bladder is a muscle and it will get stronger over time. So the more hydrated you are, the more hydrated your brain is, the better everything in your body is going to work.
Wonderful. So was this your last slide?
I think there's one more after this. This was just a recap of everything that we covered, right? Sleep, diet, social connections, daily exercise, stress reduction, and learning new things. And of course, playing Mahjong, right? Definitely an important thing. And this is my last slide. So this is, I offer a free 30-minute consultation on my website. You guys can book it there. And you can also download a free copy of my book, Powerful Sleep, on my website as well, or you can purchase it on Amazon or on Audible, it's also on Goodreads as well. And that's my my handle on Instagram and Facebook, and then on YouTube it's just under my name, Shawna Robins. So I have put up videos every week about sleep and health and wellness on my YouTube channel. So there's a lot of information there. So you can check that out as well.
So before, I'm sure people have questions for you, but thank you so much. That was wonderful. We're going to have Haley, who is from
Okay,
the Association, jump in.
great. So I'll stop screen sharing.
And then while you guys are listening to Haley, if you have questions, we're going to check the chat as well. So welcome, Haley. Haley Register is our Alzheimer's Association of Southeast Florida representative, and take it away.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me. That was a fantastic presentation. And it's so great hearing about the ways that you're preventing Alzheimer's and things that you can do now and that you can do to look forward to the future. So thank you so much. And again, I'm Haley Register. I'm the development manager of the Longest Day campaign for the Alzheimer's Association in Southeast Florida. And so for a very long time, Mahjong players have been very proud supporters of the Alzheimer's Association. So I'm just here to tell you a little bit more about what the Alzheimer's Association does and different ways that you can get involved. So I think, let me switch. So we have the chat going with questions right now, but I wanted to see if our participants that are on, if you have a personal connection, whether it be a family member, a friend, a colleague, if you could put in the chat who your personal connection is, if you know somebody who's experienced Alzheimer's or dementia, because like Shawna had mentioned, there are over 6 million people in just America that have Alzheimer's or dementia. I believe it's like 36 million worldwide, just under 40 million. And it's, I believe half of every single person knows somebody who's been personally affected. And it's absolutely outrageous. And like I mentioned, we're in South Florida, so it's almost, well, over 500,000 people that are right here in our backyard. So it's just absolutely outrageous, just the connections and how many people are living with this disease. So let's see the chat. Let me open it back up. Yeah. So obviously it's very close to everybody's hearts. And I'm sure everybody on this call can have some sort of connection. So thank you for the people who shared. Yeah, wow. So a little bit about what the Alzheimer's Association does. So through fundraising and through donations, these are some of our different resources that we provide. So as I mentioned, I'm a staff member that's in Southeast Florida, but we're a national organization. So there's staff members that are all over the country, physical chapters, people who work remotely. You can go to alz.org and you can type in your zip code and you can be connected with the local staff. And then there's also, we have a 24/7 helpline that's absolutely free. You can call that number anytime a day, and there's trained professionals that are on the other line that can give you resources for different assisted living facilities. They can give you advice if your loved one is having an episode and you need to be talked through what to do. They can give you resources for different doctors, referrals in your area. They can give you information about the different events, the support groups that we have locally and online, and education programs that are similar to this one. So alzconnected.org, very similar. It's just an online system that provides that community that you can chat with people, that you can read blog posts and hear about what other people are dealing with being caregivers. And we provide education programs, like I said, in person and online. So those are always available for you. And then currently, the Alzheimer's Association is the largest nonprofit funder of Alzheimer's research. It's only just behind the Chinese and the United States governments. And that is because of supporters just like you guys, people like the Mahjong community who have come together and have committed to donating and to fundraising and to coming together as a community for this cause, and it's an incredible feat. And then over here, so I had just noticed before this meeting, these are actually numbers from last year. So currently the association is investing over $300 million in active projects all across the world. So live clinical trials, projects, research that's happening, and it's pretty amazing, the research that they're coming out with, what's being told, and what we're learning today. So the longest day, it is one of the biggest fundraising campaigns that the Alzheimer's Association does, also with our walk program, our ride, our galas, but the longest day is number 2. So throughout the year, there's thousands of participants that get together to do fundraising activities of their choice. So we have a motto that's turn your passion into purpose. And it could be bake sales, golf tournaments, tennis tournaments. But one of our biggest partners is the Mahjong community. So we have the Mahjong for Memories group. And I didn't know that Janelle was actually going to be on this call. So very special. We have a volunteer, Janelle, who has amplified this program and has made it accessible throughout the country for people to join Mahjong for Memories wherever they may be, whether it's their little Mahjong group in person or if it's online playing Mahjong. But we have a global team page, so you can join them, and it's alz.org/Mahjong. There's a promo code, so there's no registration. But if you were interested in turning your Mahjong playing group or virtual playing into a fundraiser, you can join the umbrella team of Mahjong for Memories. So does Janelle want to add anything to that?
Let me see. Janelle, let me see if she's muted. Hold on.
Yeah.
Janelle, we just asked if you want to unmute or if you, oh, there you are.
Hey. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, well, just really all I have to say is we would love for anyone who's on this call to think about forming a Mahjong for Memories team and joining us. And if you're not comfortable doing that or don't feel like you have the energy to do that, at least consider ordering your card through Dara and Donna, because they have a pre-order program that they do that has generated over $33,000 for the Alzheimer's Association over the last couple of years. And we just so appreciate everything that they do. And yeah, just email me or get my phone number from Dara and Donna if you want to talk about this any further. And thank you too, Haley, for all you're doing.
Yes, and that was actually my next slide, is just saying thank you. We really appreciate our Mahjong community, the Modern Mahjong group, Dara and Donna, and all the hard work that they did. They had an absolutely fantastic record year of selling the cards last year and raised $26,000. It is absolutely incredible. That was just $1 per card sold. And then this year, the fundraising amount, the percentage is even bigger. So next year, we'll be giving a presentation with a $50,000 goal, and we're hoping to hit it, but it's just so amazing. But every single one of you that purchases a card, you're a part of this community, you're funding the Alzheimer's research, making all of these things possible and happening. So we're so grateful for you. And of course, I'm here in South Florida as a staff member for resources. As I mentioned, you can go on the website and find your local if you're not in Florida. But we're all here to help you and to join our community. And we're so excited to see the things that Mahjong does in the future.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to ask, I think there might be, Haley, thank you so much. I think that
Yeah.
Greg, did you want to join in? I don't know if you're unmuted.
Let me see.
Wait, hold on one second. You have to click on your, I asked, okay, now we go.
So I will just tell you all, I have been in a Alzheimer's study since probably 2004 at NYU Langone. They thought that my mom had Alzheimer's, and so they've been studying me, which has its stress levels every time I go in, because I'm just so nervous about everything. I just was there today, and now I'm doing part of a sleep study, and I've got my watch on so they can monitor my sleep, because sleep is so important. And I had something else that was trying to determine my sleep levels, and it wasn't good, but now I'm hoping that this is going to be good for the next week. And I've got a sleep diary. But, you know, if you can be part of a study, I urge you to become part of a study, because when you are part of a study, they monitor you from year to year. And the whole thing is that if they see something happening, they will let you know, and they will let you know what it is that that can be helpful to you. So I definitely advocate going. Sleep is so important. I've been sleep deprived actually since my mother died, but you know, I'm working on it. But you know, if you can be part of a study, you know, I urge you to do it. They're doing a lot of good research out there, and it's so key to our futures. I mean, our futures and the futures of like our families and kids, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we all want to be able to function and just be part of a study if you can.
That's wonderful that you do
Well,
that.
thanks, Greg, for sharing that.
Yeah. And I know that Kimberly Williams Paisley and her sister are very big advocates and Alzheimer's advocates, because their mother had passed. And I think they did a whole show on what their study entails. I don't know if it's the same study you're on, but they're in a study as well.
They're wonderful studies. I have to tell you that it's so stressful to go in and have to answer these questions and get tests. By the way, I am a psychologist. I know about these things. And it's just horrible to be in the other chair when they're asking me the same questions that I kind of did like 40 years ago to people who were in the other chair. But, you know, it's just key to like think about answers for yourself, and then what you're providing to other people. And you know, you're actually part of history, and you're really helping the very important research that's going on if you can ever be part of a study.
No, that's terrific. So thank you to Haley and Greg and to Janelle. And now that we had a little break, if anybody had any questions that we missed in the chat while we were monitoring for Shawna, I know that some people wanted more information about the sleep. So that's on your website, your book.
I had a question I wanted to ask. I know we talked about coffee, but what about the energy drinks?
Oh, Sean, I think you're muted still. Sean, I think you're muted. You have to unmute. Okay.
Nope, I needed you to let me unmute. It's like, I need help. The energy drinks. Yeah, I have a whole chapter about them in my book. When it comes to just completely frying out your adrenal glands. And not only are we addicted to sugar as a nation, but we're also addicted to caffeine. And that's what those energy drinks are just chocked full of. And so that, you know, consuming that much caffeine in one, you know, Red Bull or whatever it is just going to completely disrupt your sleep-wake cycle. And so they're a short-term fix that creates long-term problems. That's sort of the short answer of it. Yeah.
What I try to think of it, it's like I need to drink a certain amount of water per day. So unless I get that water in, I'm not allowed to have anything else.
Oh, wow. That's quite a lot of discipline. I like that. That might be harder for other people to stick to, but if that works for you, then I think that's great.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's in your book, but is there a certain time you say to cut off caffeine?
Noon.
Wow, that's early.
And you have to think about all the things that have caffeine in them, right? So
Right.
You've got over-the-counter headache medicines, you've got chocolate, You've got even decaf coffee has caffeine in it. You know, you've got different types of teas, black teas, green teas. I mean, so when you start looking at the amount of caffeine that you consume, it's kind of like looking at the amount of sugar you consume in a day, right? And you look at how you're drinking caffeine from, you know, morning and some sun up until well past sundown. I mean, even having a decaf coffee or a decaf cappuccino after dinner kind of thing can be enough to keep you up. So I think it's just really being mindful as to the things that you are doing that may be interrupting your sleep, which then has a negative impact on your brain health.
Yeah. Right. No, that's, if anybody wanted to ask a question, they could raise their hand or type it in the chat. Or if not, we're sorry we ran over, but we just had a lot of interesting input for this. And we really appreciate everybody for joining us today.
Yeah.
So no, I think we wrapped it up.
Okay,
So
good.
we're going to the replay of this. If anybody came in late, or if you have friends that you think this would be a subtle way to give them a hint that they need to improve in these areas. And in the chat, in the comments to the YouTube, we'll have the link to Shawna to connect with her and to download her book. So thank you all for joining
Thank
us.
you, Shawna. Thank you, Haley.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was great.
Hope everybody gets a good night's sleep.
Yeah.